Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast as part of the Labostix Intermission. This is the Shientist, and this audio podcast will be on surround research involvement and participation. This is another audio podcast as part of the Storm Labostix production. Gonna highlight some aspects of this particular focus, looking at the work in collaboration, in collaboration with the renal patient support group, or the RPSG. And here I've got a general outline in relating to context. So I'm going to provide a bit of an introduction. I'm going to provide some aspects surrounding chronic kidney disease stages. I'm going to highlight a little bit around co-developing research, a little bit around the renal patient support group, or the RPSG. I'm going to talk a little bit, I'll highlight a little bit around implementing guidelines in regards to patient and public involvement research. I'm going to highlight some aspects in relating to a particular patient and public involvement aspect that relates and has more of a focus in regards to research, something that is referred to as the strength, weakness, and opportunity and threat framework, or the SWOT framework. I'm going to highlight some recommendations in line with the SWOT framework, and then I'm going to highlight a bit of a summary, and there will be some context around some further reading which can be referred to, and a few dedications and how you can find out more. So in relating to chronic kidney disease, I thought I'd take a little bit of this sort of opportunity to highlight the different sort of stages of chronic kidney disease. So there's the CKD severity, there's CKD stages 1 through 5, and then the classification in relating to the chronic kidney disease as well. So for example, in stage 1, kidney damage, there's kidney damage with normal or raised glomerular filtration rate, so it's greater than 90 mils per minute to 90 mils per min. Stage 2 is kidney damage with normal or raised GF glomerular filtration rate as well. However, the volume in relating to the filtration of the nephrons is reduced further. So it's the general range is between 60 to 89 mils per min. And then in stage 3 is moderately impaired glomerular filtration rate, where the GFR is reduced further, so between 30 to 59 mils per min. And stage 4 is referred to as severely impaired glomerular filtration rate, where the range is 15 is 15 to 29 mils per min. And then stage 5 is referred to as end stage renal failure or end stage renal disease, where the glomerular filtration rate is less than 15 mils per min. So the ability or for individuals or patients to rid of toxins through the blood through voiding through urine is incapacitated, or is there's a general inability. So in relating to this, or in part where sort of the main ethos around this sort of audio podcast, or in keeping with the main ethos around this audio podcast, I now wanted to highlight a little bit about co-developing research and what does it actually mean. So patients have an opportunity to work with health professionals or with professionals and professionals understanding and professionals understanding by being sort of involved, get to understand patient involvement, and this increases increases the rigor around particular focuses surrounding healthcare. So for example, where there may be clinical trials, or there may be interventional trials, or there may be for example development around other particular areas of healthcare practices. And then in line with this, the co-developing research can ensure and should ensure that whatever is being sort of developed, or at least in context in context of clinical trials, ensuring that whatever is being trialed is assessed, translatable, and representative to the population, to the patient population. So all trial phases, in relating to all trial phases, have elements of reporting and documentation, so that where appropriate, any updates, amendments, errors are tracked and traced. And it is suggested that through co-developing clinical trials or any other particular areas of health research involving patients and professionals prompts quality of joined up aims and objectives, also addressing possible healthcare inequalities, involving expert expert patients or even expert healthcare professionals, and I use that word sort of in a sort of overarching way, because health professionals take time to learn, develop aspects of their practice just as much as healthcare, just as much as patients learn to develop aspects of ensuring that different aspects of healthcare are dealt with. So equally, there's a there's an endeavor so involving sort of expert patients and sort of expert health professionals to develop sort of rounding comprehension surrounding sort of aims and objectives on particular areas of research is important, and it is key. So this is important for clinical trials, providing trialists more positive experiences to help increase patient reported outcome measures. So I thought I'd take a little bit of this opportunity to highlight a kind of an overview around one particular initiative known as or referred to as the Renal Patient Support Group, or abbreviated as the RPSG. So on this slide, I've highlighted the different social media platforms that the RPSG sort of broadcasts, if you will, and there is a Facebook page. There's a Twitter page, there's a ResearchGate page, there's an Instagram page, there's a blogger page, and there's 2 YouTube channels as well. So I'm just going to highlight generally how many some of the sort of more recent analytics around these different social media platforms. So on Facebook, there are two main Facebook groups. There's one Facebook group that has over 9,000 members internationally, and has one Facebook group which is primarily for the administrators and moderators for the Renal Patient Support Group, the RPSG. And then there's a Twitter page which has sort of over 2,700 tweets at the moment, representing sort of nephrology and healthcare research practices, and nephrology and healthcare research sort of practices in keeping with kidney care practices as well. Then there's the ResearchGate page, and the ResearchGate page has around 300 or over 300 sort of research items, publications surrounding science, nephrology, and healthcare research. And then there's the Instagram page that has over 100 image posts, has over 1,000 image posts, has over 70 video posts surrounding science, nephrology, and healthcare research. There's the blogspot or blogger page as well, which has currently has sort of over 220 sort of journal posts surrounding science, nephrology, and healthcare research. It has since it's been established, it's had over 16,700 views. And on the YouTube channel, there's two YouTube channels. One YouTube channel that has over 80 educational videos, and there's one YouTube channel that has around 26 audio podcasts, if not a few more. Now I'm just gonna highlight also as to when these particular social media platforms in line with the RPSG had been implemented. So the 2 Facebook groups the two Facebook groups were implemented in and around 2009, although the admins and the moderator Facebook group was implemented perhaps a little bit later. The main Facebook group page was implemented in 2009. The admins and moderators the admins and moderators Facebook page group was implemented perhaps in 2010 or 2011. The Twitter page was implemented, has been implemented since 2018. The ResearchGate page has been implemented since 2009. The Instagram page has been implemented since around 2012, and the blogger or the blogspot was implemented in 2012, and has had over 16,700 views. And the YouTube channel, the two YouTube channels have been implemented since early 2019. So, in relating to patient and public involvement aspects, there is a particular sort of guideline, and there is a particular guideline, and it's one of the main sort of guidelines that came out from the Medical Research Council in the United Kingdom. So it's a publication by Vale and team from 2018 surrounding when participants get involved, and reconsidering patient and public involvement in sort of clinical trials at the MRC Clinical Trials Unit at UCL, or University College London, and it is available online to kind of sift through. And there is a link in this slide that highlights where this particular publication can be identified, and information around the NHS clinical trials clinical trials focus in relating to particular conditions, and where and if there are particular clinical trials that are currently taking place. For example, I'm now going to talk a little bit around the SWOT framework, and in context of patient and public involvement. So the SWOT framework is something that researchers and investigators that are looking to develop areas of particular practices by implementing a kind of a streamlined way to ensure that practices are captured between either health sectors, depending on what research is about, or between sort of capturing the particular aspects between, for example, patients and health professionals. Now here, for example, there's in relating to strength, there's aspects that focus on internal benefits and external benefits. Around weakness, there's tensions and barriers. Around opportunity is recommendations and suggestions, and around threat is poor reporting, ethical breaches, and bad practice. Now, SWOT generally looks to implement these these sort of derived focuses, so that those who are implementing sort of involvement type research have a basis as to where they can ensure that particular works are being linked with linked with or in line with patient and public involvement research. For example, there is a reference around this. This particular schematic or image has been adapted from a paper by Price and team from 2018. It's a paper paper referred to as Patient and Public Involvement in the Design of Clinical Trials, an overview of systematic reviews, and it is available from the Journal of Evaluation in Clinical Practice. So, in relating to an overview, I thought I'd provide a general sort of summary surrounding this audio podcast in context of a few bullet points. So, understanding surrounding clinical trials should be available through online mediums and attached to, for example, NHS kidney care sites. Education surrounding trials from trialists who envisage patient involvement through research endeavours should seek to share best practices. Online snapshot videos from trialists trialists should and would help in relating to transparency are as to why particular investigations and studies are needed, and why certain groups of patients are required in and amongst sort of kidney care practices. And it must be appreciated that patients should be armed with more appropriate context and information, so that they are able they're able to have that interactive communication, and thus increasing sort of impact in and around aspects of collaborative research. So on this slide, I've got a few resources for further reading, and I'm not going to read through the list here, but these particular publications that are available online highlight sort of the underpinnings really of particular research in and around overviews of particular clinical trials, and how clinical trials are important, and also some aspects in relating to involvement. For the purpose of this overview, to find out more relating to the renal patient support group, the RPSG, feel free to check out the renal patient support group, or the RPSG, through www.rpsg.org.uk, and that should be accessible. In line with this, overview, I have a few dedications I want to highlight. To Mrs. Elizabeth Ward, OBE and CEO for the former British Kidney Patient Association, or BKPA, now known as Kidney Care UK, and to some dear friends that historically have been involved in aspects of research, but have unfortunately passed. So dear and departed friends, Ian Purchase, Emma Markwick, Cephal Kirbish, Ben Smith, Ratner Das, Maureen Omondi, Everton Barkley, Carl Luton, Margaret Cromley, Christine Gaynor, David Stevens, Philip Starr, Rob McBurney, Rob Argue, and Liana Bruce Kidman. And these individuals have been serious inspirations for all the work that has been conducted.